You missed a spot, loser. The words echoed through Westbridge Academy's marble hallway as Madison Hartley deliberately knocked her half-empty Starbucks cup onto the freshly mopped floor. The caramel macchiato splattered across the polished tiles, some of it landing on the worn sneakers of the quiet janitor, who had been cleaning there just moments before. 50 students stopped in their tracks. Phones came out. This was about to be good. The janitor, a middle-aged Asian man with graying hair and kind eyes, simply looked down at the mess, then back up at the 13-year-old girl, whose designer uniform probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. He said nothing. He never did. "What are you waiting for? Clean it up. That's literally your job, isn't it? Or are you too incompetent to even do that right?" Madison's voice dripped with venom as her friends giggled behind their manicured hands. God, imagine being your age and this is what you do with your life. So embarrassing. Mr. Chen, that's what the name tag on his navy blue uniform read, bent down slowly to retrieve his mop. His movements were deliberate, almost graceful. There was something in his eyes, though. Not anger, not even hurt. Something deeper, something that looked almost like pity. "My shoes are dirty now because of you," Madison continued, pointing at her white Balenciaga sneakers that probably hadn't seen a single drop of the spilled coffee. "Clean them, now." The hallway fell silent. Even Madison's friends looked uncomfortable. This was crossing a line, even for her. Mr. Chen straightened up, making eye contact with the girl for just a moment. Then he knelt down and began mopping up the spilled drink, working around her feet with quiet dignity that somehow made Madison's cruelty look even worse. But here's what nobody knew yet. Not Madison, not her wealthy parents, not even the administrators at this prestigious private school. Mr. Chen wasn't who they thought he was, not even close. And the truth? It was about to turn Madison's entire world upside down. This wasn't the first time Madison had targeted Mr. Chen. For the past 6 months, the janitor had been her favorite victim. It had started small, ignoring him when he held doors, laughing when he struggled with heavy equipment, making comments about his accent. But lately it had escalated. Madison came from money, real money. Her father owned a chain of luxury car dealerships. Her mother was on every charity board in the city. Their mansion had appeared in Architectural Digest. Madison had never heard the word no in her life, and it showed. What nobody understood was why Mr. Chen took it all so quietly. Why he never complained, never fought back, never even raised his voice. The other staff members had noticed. They'd tried to intervene, but Mr. Chen always waved them off with a gentle smile and words that seemed too wise for someone pushing a mop cart. "Some lessons," he'd once told the concerned vice principal, "can only be learned the hard way." The incidents kept coming, each one more brazen than the last. 2 weeks after the coffee incident, Madison accidentally knocked over an entire trash can in the cafeteria, sending garbage cascading across the floor just as lunch period ended. She made sure Mr. Chen was watching, made sure he knew it was deliberate. The smirk on her face said everything. "Oops," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Guess someone's going to be staying late tonight. Maybe if you weren't so slow at your job, you'd be done by now anyway." Her friends posted it on social media. The video got hundreds of views. Comments ranged from supportive laughs to a few saying Madison was going too far. She deleted the critical ones. But Mr. Chen just cleaned it up. Quietly, thoroughly, with that same inexplicable dignity. The teachers noticed. Dr. Reynolds, the school principal, had called Madison into her office twice. But Madison's parents were significant donors. The Hartley name was on the new gymnasium, on the library wing. They'd pledged $500,000 for the upcoming renovation project, so Dr. Reynolds' hands were somewhat tied. She could lecture Madison about respect and kindness, but there were only so many consequences she could enforce when Madison's parents viewed their daughter as perfect and anyone who said otherwise as the problem. Still, something about Mr. Chen puzzled Dr. Reynolds. His resume had been unusual, overqualified actually. Advanced degrees, references from people in high places. When she'd asked him during the interview why he wanted a custodian position at a private school, his answer had been cryptic. "I'm looking for something money can't buy," he'd said, "and I think I'll find it here." She'd hired him on the spot, something in his eyes telling her this was a man on a mission she couldn't quite understand. Around school, Mr. Chen had become almost invisible. He arrived before dawn, left after dusk. He kept the school immaculate. He never joined staff gossip, never complained about his workload, never asked for anything. But those who paid attention noticed things. The way he spoke, his English was perfect, barely accented with vocabulary that seemed unusual for his position. The way he carried himself, straight-backed, confident despite the humble work. The way he looked at the students, not with resentment or envy, but with something that looked almost like longing. And then there were the moments people caught him staring at a particular photo on his phone during breaks. A young girl, maybe 10 or 11, with a bright smile and her father's same kind eyes. He'd quickly put the phone away whenever anyone noticed, but not before they'd seen the grief written plainly across his face. Nobody asked. It felt too personal, too painful. Madison, of course, noticed none of this. To her, Mr. Chen was just the help, barely even human. Certainly not someone with a story, with a past, with reasons for being where he was. That's when she noticed it was missing. The diamond tennis bracelet, the one her father had given her for her 13th birthday. $12,000 worth of stones that she'd carelessly left in her gym locker because she couldn't be bothered to use the actual lock. Madison's face went red, then white, then red again. She stood up abruptly, interrupting Dr. Reynolds mid-sentence. "Someone stole my bracelet." The auditorium fell silent. Dr. Reynolds frowned. "Madison, we're in the middle of... I don't care. Someone stole my bracelet from my locker, and I know exactly who did it." Madison spun around, her eyes scanning the back of the auditorium where the custodial staff stood during assemblies. Her finger shot out like an accusation. "Him! Mr. Chen! He's always lurking around the locker rooms. I saw him near my locker this morning. He stole it." 800 pairs of eyes turned to look at the quiet janitor standing near the back exit. His face remained completely neutral, but something flickered in those deep eyes. Something that might have been disappointment. "Madison, that's a very serious accusation," Dr. Reynolds started. But Madison's mother was already on her feet, phone to her ear, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "I'm calling the police right now, and our lawyers. This is theft. This man should be arrested." Madison's father stood too, his face purple with rage. "We trusted this school. We've given you millions and you hire criminals to work around our children?" The auditorium erupted in chaos. Students were recording. Teachers were trying to restore order. Madison stood in the center of it all, triumphant, vindicated, certain she'd finally put the pathetic janitor in his place. Mr. Chen hadn't moved, hadn't spoken. He just stood there watching Madison with an expression that was heartbreaking in its sadness. Not sadness for himself, sadness for her. Dr. Reynolds held up her hands. "Everyone, please. Mr. Chen, would you come to my office so we can discuss this calmly?" "There's nothing to discuss," Madison shrieked. "He's a thief. Search him. Search his stuff. You'll find it." "Actually," a quiet voice said from the back of the room, and everyone turned to see Mr. Chen finally speaking. His voice was calm, cultured, nothing like what people expected. "I did find a diamond bracelet this morning. It was on the floor near the girls' locker room. I picked it up and was planning to turn it in to the lost and found during my lunch break." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a glittering bracelet. But Madison wasn't about to let facts get in the way of her narrative. "See? See? He admits he had it. He stole it and made up that story." "Madison," Dr. Reynolds' voice was steel now. "Mr. Chen has been with us for 6 months. He's found and returned over 20 items to Lost and Found, including a laptop, 2 phones, and... I don't care. I want him fired. I want him arrested. Daddy, do something." Madison's father was already on his phone, already threatening lawsuits, already demanding the school board's immediate intervention. And that's when Dr. Reynolds made a decision. She'd known this day might come. Mr. Chen had warned her it might. She'd promised to keep his secret, but some things were more important than promises. Some lessons, as Mr. Chen had said, could only be learned the hard way. "Before anyone calls anyone," Dr. Reynolds said, her voice cutting through the chaos, "there's something you all need to know about Mr. Chen. Something I probably should have disclosed earlier, but I gave my word." The auditorium fell silent. Madison's smirk was triumphant. This was it. They were going to fire him right here in front of everyone. Mr. Chen isn't actually a janitor. Well, he is now, but that's not who he really is. Madison rolled her eyes. What, is he a janitor with a master's degree or something? That's supposed to make it better? Dr. Reynolds looked at Mr. Chen, who gave a small, sad nod. Mr. Chen's full name is Chen Wei. Perhaps some of you have heard of Wei Technologies? A few gasps rippled through the crowd. Even Madison's father's face changed. He knew that name. Everyone in the business world knew that name. 3 years ago, Chen Wei sold Wei Technologies to a Silicon Valley consortium for $2.3 billion. He's one of the richest men in America, and for the past 6 months, he's been working here as a janitor, anonymously, by choice. The auditorium exploded. Madison's world tilted sideways. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Around her, students were frantically Googling, phones lighting up with results. Headlines appeared. Tech billionaire Chen Wei sells company for 2.3 billion. Philanthropist Chen Wei establishes foundation. Tragedy strikes tech mogul's family. That last headline, that's the one that mattered. You're lying, Madison whispered, but her voice lacked conviction. Her father's face had gone from red to ashen. He knew. Oh God, he knew exactly who Chen Wei was. Dr. Reynolds continued, her voice gentle now. Mr. Chen came to me 8 months ago with an unusual request. He wanted to work here in the most humble position we had available, and he wanted no one to know his real identity. At first, I thought he was having some kind of breakdown, but when he explained his reasons, she looked at Mr. Chen, asking permission with her eyes. He nodded again, then finally spoke, his voice filling the auditorium with quiet authority. 3 years ago, my daughter was killed. She was 10 years old. Her name was Lily. He pulled out his phone, the same one staff members had seen him staring at during breaks. On the large screen at the front of the auditorium, a photo appeared. The bright, smiling girl. She was wearing a Westbridge Academy uniform. Lily was a student here. She loved this school. She loved learning, loved her friends, loved life with the kind of pure joy that only children possess. Madison felt sick. She knew where this was going. She was killed by a drunk driver. A 17-year-old from a wealthy family who'd been drinking at a party, thought he was invincible, thought rules didn't apply to him because his parents had money and connections. He was driving a car his parents bought him even though he'd already had 2 speeding tickets. He was texting. He ran a red light. The silence in the auditorium was absolute. Lily died instantly. The boy survived without a scratch. His parents hired expensive lawyers. He got 6 months in juvenile detention and community service. His record was sealed. He's probably in college now, living his life, while my daughter's gone. Mr. Chen's voice didn't waver, but tears ran freely down his face. After she died, I couldn't function. I had all the money in the world, but I couldn't save her. I sold my company because I didn't care anymore. Nothing mattered. I fell into a deep depression, spent a year barely leaving my house. He wiped his eyes. My therapist suggested I needed to reconnect with life, with humanity, with the kind of real, meaningful work that money can't buy. She suggested I try something completely different. Manual labor, service work, something to take me out of my own head. I chose to come here to Lily's school because this was where she was happiest. I thought maybe I could feel close to her again. Maybe I could honor her memory by taking care of the place she loved. And maybe, he looked directly at Madison now, maybe I could teach some privileged students the lessons about character and humility that Lily never got the chance to learn fully. The lessons that might have saved her life if that boy had been taught them. Madison's legs gave out. She sank back into her chair. Around her, students were crying. Teachers were crying. Even Madison's mother had tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. The bracelet? Mr. Chen continued. I found it on the floor this morning, exactly as I said. I was going to return it during lunch. I've returned everything I've ever found here. I don't need your money. I don't want your money. I never did. He looked around the auditorium at all the wealthy, privileged students who'd walked past him for months without really seeing him. I've been here for 6 months. In that time, I've watched you all. I've seen kindness and I've seen cruelty. I've seen students who understand their privilege and try to use it for good. And I've seen students who think money makes them better than everyone else, who think it puts them above basic human decency. His eyes landed on Madison again. I never said anything about the bullying because I hoped you would learn on your own. I hope that maybe, given time, you'd realize that how you treat people matters more than what you own. That who you are inside matters more than what your parents can buy. Madison was sobbing now. Ugly, gasping sobs. Her carefully constructed world was crumbling around her. But standing here now, being accused of theft by someone who doesn't even know what real loss feels like, Mr. Chen's voice finally cracked. My daughter was kinder at 10 years old than you've been at 13. She knew that everyone deserves respect. Everyone deserves dignity. It didn't matter to her if someone was the school janitor or the president of a company. She treated everyone the same. He turned to Dr. Reynolds. I think my time here is done. I thought I could heal here, but I think I've learned all I'm going to learn. Some people change. Some people don't. I hope Madison proves me wrong. The auditorium was in chaos again, but a different kind of chaos. Students were openly weeping. Teachers looked stunned. Madison's parents sat frozen. Their earlier righteous anger turned to horror and shame. And Madison? Madison just stared at the image of Lily Chen still displayed on the screen. The girl who'd walked these same halls, who'd sat in these same seats, who'd never gotten the chance to grow up because someone like Madison, someone who thought they were above consequences, had taken that away. The video went viral within hours. Not the one Madison's friends had posted of her bullying Mr. Chen. No, someone had recorded the entire assembly. The revelation, the truth, Chen Wei's story. Within 24 hours, it had 50 million views. News outlets picked it up. Billionaire works as janitor to honor dead daughter. Entitled Teen Bullies, Secret Billionaire. The janitor who was really a tycoon. Madison's life imploded. Her social media accounts, once filled with supportive comments and likes, turned toxic overnight. Former friends deleted her. People she'd never met sent messages calling her every terrible thing imaginable. Someone created a hashtag. It trended for 3 days. Her parents pulled her out of school immediately. Not to protect her, but because they couldn't face the other parents. The Hartley name, once synonymous with success and philanthropy, became a punchline, a cautionary tale. Business connections suddenly became too busy to meet with Madison's father. Her mother resigned from all her charity boards before they could ask her to leave. The scholarship essay Madison had submitted, the one about overcoming adversity, was leaked online. People compared it to actual adversity, to loss, to grief, to the adversity Chen Wei had actually overcome. Madison stopped eating, stopped sleeping, spent days in her room, unable to escape the image of Lily Chen's smiling face, unable to escape the memory of Mr. Chen's eyes when he looked at her. That disappointment, that pity. But here's the thing about rock bottom. It's where you either give up or start climbing. 2 weeks after the assembly, Madison did something she'd never done before. She went to Dr. Reynolds and asked for Chen Wei's contact information. I need to apologize, she said, her voice small and broken. I know he probably won't even read it, but I need to try. Dr. Reynolds studied the girl in front of her. Madison looked different, smaller somehow, humbled. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by simple jeans and a plain sweatshirt. No makeup, hair in a simple ponytail. This wasn't the same girl who'd thrown coffee on a janitor 6 weeks ago. He left an address, Dr. Reynolds said finally. He said if anyone truly wanted to learn, they could write to him. Madison wrote that letter by hand, 7 pages. She didn't make excuses, didn't try to justify her behavior, just apologized, admitted what she'd done was wrong, explained that she was trying to understand why she'd become the kind of person who could be so cruel. She didn't expect a response. But 3 days later, one came. The letter from Chen Wei was short. There's a soup kitchen downtown that could use volunteers on Saturdays. If you're serious about changing, prove it with actions, not words. I'll be there. That Saturday, Madison showed up, and the Saturday after that, and the one after that. Chen Wei was there, just as he'd promised. He didn't lecture her, didn't rub her nose in her mistakes. He just worked alongside her, serving food to people who had nothing, teaching her through example what he'd tried to teach her at school. You see that man? Chen Wei said one day, nodding toward an elderly homeless man. He used to be a millionaire, lost everything in the 2008 crash. His family abandoned him. One day you have everything, the next nothing. Money is temporary, character is permanent. Madison listened, really listened. For the first time in her life, she understood that the world didn't revolve around her. That pain was real. That loss was devastating. That how you treat people matters more than anything else. It took months, but slowly Madison changed. Not for show, not for social media redemption, not to fix her reputation. She changed because she'd finally seen herself clearly and hated what she saw. She started a club at school, after her parents groveled enough for her to be allowed back, focused on community service. But she didn't lead it from the front. She worked in the background, doing the unsexy work nobody else wanted to do. She volunteered at the children's hospital. She tutored kids from underprivileged backgrounds. She donated her designer clothes and asked her parents to give the money they'd spent on her expensive gifts to charity instead. And once a month, she visited Lily Chen's grave. She'd bring flowers and sit there, telling Lily about what she'd learned, about how she was trying to be the kind of person Lily had been, the kind of person who made the world better just by being in it. Chen Wei watched from a distance. He didn't forgive easily. The wound was too deep, the loss too great. But he saw something in Madison that hadn't been there before, a spark of genuine understanding, the beginning of real character. 1 year after the assembly, on the anniversary of the incident, Madison stood at a school gathering and told her story. Not to make herself look good, not to be forgiven, but to warn other students about the kind of person she'd been and the kind of person they could become if they weren't careful. "I was a monster," she said simply. "I thought money made me better than everyone else. I thought I could treat people however I wanted because I'd never face consequences. I was wrong, and it took humiliating myself in front of the entire world to finally learn what I should have known all along." She looked at the students, many of whom came from the same privileged background she did. "Money doesn't make you better than anyone. It just makes you luckier. What you do with that luck, how you treat people, the character you build, that's what matters. That's what lasts." In the back of the auditorium, Chen Wei stood quietly. Dr. Reynolds had invited him to the assembly, though few students recognized him out of his custodian uniform. He listened to Madison's words and felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Not happiness. The wound was still too raw for that, but something close. A sense that maybe, just maybe, his daughter's death hadn't been entirely meaningless. That maybe by working as a janitor, by enduring Madison's cruelty, by revealing his truth at the moment it mattered most, he'd prevented another Lily's death. Maybe he'd taught Madison the lesson that could have saved his daughter's life if that drunk teenager had learned it. The lesson that privilege is responsibility, that money is temporary, but character is forever, that how you treat the janitor matters just as much as how you treat the principal. After the assembly, Madison saw Chen Wei leaving. She ran after him, catching him in the parking lot. "Mr. Chen, I mean Mr. Wei, I just wanted to say thank you for not giving up on me, for teaching me even when I was horrible to you." Chen Wei looked at this girl who'd once made his life miserable, who'd mocked him, insulted him, tried to get him arrested. And he saw something different now. He saw someone who'd been broken and rebuilt stronger, someone who'd looked into the darkness and chosen light. "You know what Lily used to say?" he asked quietly. "She said everyone deserves a second chance to be better than they were yesterday. I'm glad you took yours." He turned to leave, then paused. "The world doesn't need more people with money, Madison. It needs more people with character. Keep building yours." And with that, Chen Wei walked away. Not as the billionaire who'd lost everything that mattered, not as the janitor who'd been bullied by a spoiled teenager, but as a father who'd turned his deepest grief into a lesson that might save countless Lilies in the future. Madison watched him go, tears streaming down her face. Not tears of shame anymore, tears of gratitude, because Chen Wei had given her something more valuable than all his billions. He'd given her the chance to become a better person. And this time, she wasn't going to waste it.